Okay, received a question on one of the videos on astral magic. It says here, just a quick question. I've been following you on here for many years. You take a scientific approach to the occult. Do you feel this takes away from the mystery and poetry of the occult? No, not at all, because it shouldn't have mystery and poetry in it, unless of course what you're doing is a spiritual, religious type self-developmental exercise, and that has its own benefits in its own way, and it has importance. You know, religion using things from magic, witchcraft, tarot, and the rest of that is in fact quite useful at times, provided of course the right attitude is taken to it. If the wrong attitude is taken to it, the possibility of a very real insanity, and I mean a very serious psychosis, is in fact quite possible. So therefore, attempting to apply scientific thought and reasoning to something as ephemeral as psychic experience, spiritual experience, divination, tarot, magic, and the rest of that is essential. And I mean so unbelievably essential that I can't state the importance of this enough. What we're talking about is a set of ideas which has the capacity to drive a person insane. I've been reading this book about some of the old grimoires, and some of the rituals in them are just bloody ridiculous and stupid, and there's no way that any person of any intelligence could do those things if they were even remotely sane. I mean, cutting the head off an owl and shoving it on the end of your wand in order to try and summon a demon. I mean, for crying out loud's sake, in what way is that supposed to make your spirit or demon happy? I mean, in what way is that supposed to do any good to anyone? It's just like animal cruelty. And why on earth would we want to condone such stupidity? Because if people suddenly think that they've got a need that needs to be fulfilled, then they're going to act like a desperate person, and they can do anything that they can. So they may end up mutilating animals or mutilating people if they think for 1 minute that there's a possibility that they could get something from this which would be beneficial to their lives. A couple of hundred years ago, there was an awful lot of people practicing magic. But were they really? Or were they necessarily people who've managed to find a lucrative business selling things because they found people who can buy them? And therefore, hey, you know, I'm going to tell you I'm a descendant of an ancient Egyptian priest or something, and then, hey, presto, I'll sell my stuff. There's a lot of that about. Now, the second part of this comment says, you often have a go at Crowley, but to me it seems you missed the necessary allegory and metaphor of Mr. Crowley's work. Well, if you see that there's a necessary analogy and metaphor in his work, and that's useful to you, then I'm not going to say that's a bad thing. I personally find that the attitudes of the man are not cooperative to good attitudes in life. I think that the attitude of the man is rather negative. In some respects, he's put over a few good, interesting ideas, but some of them are just commonsensical, like find out what you are naturally as a person and try and do that in your life. And, you know, that's relatively commonsensical, isn't it? That's why people choose their careers and so on and so forth. It's just what people do. Why does that need to be reiterated as something magical? What I liked about magic in theory and practice was the postulate and the theories that he developed after that. Because with a bit of creative problem solving and thinking things through and applying it in a saner way than he does, and explaining it in a saner way to yourself than he does, then maybe that will teach you how some forms of social dynamic occur, and maybe that could provide you with more opportunity to make more better quality friends and get involved with things which is right for you. Just by way of a thought. Okay, but does that need someone to explain that as if that is magical? And giving it that sort of like superior spiritual intensity? To which I would say the answer is no. I think that you need to describe this stuff practically. I think you need to talk about this stuff in a very common sense way. I don't think you need to have hooded eyes when you're talking to people who you think might also have some kind of interest in this stuff. I don't think that you need to be quite so damn stupid. All right, I think I really think we have to have a scientific approach to the spiritual phenomena for many different reasons. And one of them is that psi phenomena is something which exists, and it's something which happens. It's difficult to understand, it's difficult to control, it's sometimes the situation will not be right for you in terms of state of body and state of mind, and therefore it won't be doable. But these things do happen. Therefore there must be some kind of importance for humanity moving into the future. Alright, as this is like part of nature. Just like Nick Frank says, we're questioning the nature of nature as a result of experience. Okay? So, if you don't take a scientific approach, there's only a few things that can happen. You're either doing self-developmental, spiritual, religious stuff, which is great. It has its own purpose, okay? But that's self-developmental, religious stuff. I would not call that or consider that to be part of using or attempting to develop spiritual experiences for the purposes of developing anomalous phenomena, which is what I'm talking about. And therefore we need to have as close as possible to a clear-cut understanding as to what forces are involved, what states of mind, how to achieve it, what series of visualizations and meditations should be useful in order to try and make various different things happen, and what particular aberrations and changes in your energy field and perception, attention, awareness, intention has to happen in order for you to attempt to get into the state of being to try and do something anomalous. That's what makes sense. Okay? Going into the world of the religious aspects of magic is to just be a religious person. A person who is trying to develop anomalous experience and spiritual experience may use some of that, but they will be taking a different attitude. And being a transcendental deist, I will always be very skeptical. Alright? In terms of what? Well, the things that people say, right? And what is actually real. The rhetoric versus the reality. And within the magical, occult, spiritual, pagan, witchcraft type worlds, there is a lot of BS which is said. And a lot of that BS can be damaging to people. And I want people to be very aware of that. So if you're not thinking about this scientifically, you're not describing this scientifically, you're not explaining in the most logical, rational way imaginable what's actually going on here. There's only one thing that we can say you're doing. Deluding yourself and others. And that cannot be regarded as being decent or ethical, either for yourself or for anybody else.